Has anybody ever gotten your nerves so badly you thought you were going to snap, you just couldn't take it any longer? How can you handle this? What emotions are you going through? And how did you get to this place of impatience? What examples can we look at from the Bible and lives of saints that can help us to avoid these situations and live closer to God in loving our neighbors? We have 3 lectionaries today. We have Lectionary 410, which tells the story of Moses and the water. We have 615, which tells the story of Pope Sixtus II, and 616, which tells the story of Saint Cajetan, who established the Catejan order in 1524 AD. Starting with Moses, we'll take a look as he continues his journey to the Promised Land. It's getting so close, but yet he ends up so far. You see, the people living in this desert, they start to complain about the lack of water and resources. God, being the loving Father that he is, answers their prayer by having Moses go and have it gush forth from a rock. However, Moses, being at the edge of his patience, I'd imagine, having people complain to you for nearly 40 years, instead of going and, as God commands, and just commanding the rock to bring forth water, he raps it twice, the staff, and the water does come forth. But he's disobeyed God. This was supposed to be God's blessing. This is supposed to be God's mercy. And it says that due to Moses' doing this action in such impatience, this results in his inability to enter the Promised Land. You see, God calls those that are prophets, that preach, that guide and teach others to a higher standard. And this is Moses' punishment as a result. And we see even in the gospel of this lectionary 410, this discussion with Jesus and Peter. Again, a situation where one of our church fathers is talking with God and is reprimanded. You see, Jesus is in the middle of telling Peter that he will hold the key to his church. He will be the rock, the church, our first pope, and help guide the church and grow it. And yet at the same time, Peter is still not ready for the truth that Christ will be crucified. And even being told that he will be crucified and raised on the 3rd day, Peter still pleads with Jesus to not to let this happen. Jesus responds, "Get behind me, Satan," at this. Both these men encountered God, and both these men tried to take their lives and situations in their own hands. As a result, are reprimanded by God. We must trust in God. And it shows us that even the saints among us, they make mistakes too. Just like I do, and I'm sure you do as well. But the church also gives us these other 2 lectionaries of examples of men in 2 different situations that provide their full trust in divine providence. First one we'll be discussing is Saint Cajetan of Italy. He lives in this time of reformation of the church, and he fights this not with violence, not even with forcing anything, but rather by living as Christ, as he interprets Christ's message. As most monks take vows of poverty and live in a cloister, this order, the Cajetan order that he establishes in 1524, you see, it lives in the community. He doesn't take any income whatsoever and lives day by day purely by the divine providence that God provides them. Through this show of faith, they are helped for this counter-reformation during this time and establishes this order which inspires other ones, such as even the Jesuits. So this man imagine living no income, no wealth. He truly takes upon the messages of the readings about giving away the entire kingdom he has and living by God. And then the third lectionary, we have lectionary dedicated to Pope Sixtus II and his companions who were martyred in 258 AD by Valerian. At this time, they were heavily prosecuted. The Christians had to go into catacombs in order to practice, to do their mass and encounter the sacraments. They are found out, and Pope Sixtus II is martyred, and his archdeacon laments St. Lawrence, and he responds by saying, in 3 days, you will be martyred as well, which he is. So this one is dedicated to Pope Sixtus II and his deacons that are martyred. You see, in the readings, it describes about this fear that people might have. And God tells us that we should not fear those that can only harm the body but not the soul. But we should fear those that can harm the body and the soul. It's inspiration from God. Those that are being persecuted and they keep their faith, even with the face of death. It happens now, even just recently. And yet they follow Pope Sixtus II example and the examples of all these other martyrs by putting their faith in the divine providence of God and trusting God. So next time we think about being impatient with someone, do we want to be Moses and act out of frustration? Do we want to be Peter and act out of control or fear? Do we want to be like Pope Sixtus II, trusting God with our full life, or like Saint Cajetan, and not worry about what possessions or sins control our lives, but rather what God provides us each day? So the challenge for the day, identify what you think is holding you back from becoming closer to God. If you don't know what that is, then you need to pray more. So take this as a challenge. If you don't know what that is to wake up every morning and say the Rosary. There is a quick Rosary done by the YouTube channel Catholic Crusader, and it does the Rosary, full Rosary, in about 10 to 15 minutes. Even if you just put it on while you're getting ready and brushing your teeth, just having it play in the background. Just try it. Give it a chance. For those that are having difficulties attaching to these messages today, we take a look at the movie The Matrix. Matrix was a action blockbuster when I was a kid. It completely changed a lot of things that were done by movies. But the technical aspect's not what's important, but rather the messaging of the main character and his growth, Neo. You see, he lives in this life where he feels like something's missing, something's empty. And he encounters this white rabbit, so to speak, and follows it to this man Morpheus. Gives an option of 2 different pills. One returns him to this life where he's asleep. He focuses on all the wrong things. Or he asks him, are you ready to wake up? Are you ready to see life as it truly is? So, which pill will you take? Which decision will you make today? In the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord, may we trust in you. May our strength come from you. May we not fear death or poverty, but fear instead of not being close to you. Fear not loving you. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. God bless. Peace be with you. See you tomorrow.